Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your participation in the webinar on approach to building a prototype for your new product ideas. I'd like to begin this by introducing the panelist from Cybrant Technologies, Hari Shankar, who is the Director of User Experience. To give you a brief about Cybrant Technologies was founded in 2007 and offers a wide range of web, mobility, and CRM solutions, all of them being driven by the user experience practice, which is handled by Hari Shankar. Hari has a vast amount of experience. He's worked with clients like British Gas, Microsoft, GlaxoSmithKline, and was also part of the R&D team on mobile learning to provide enterprise learning solutions and published a white paper on it as well. I'd like to let his work speak more about it. So let's get started with the presentation. So we are here to discuss the importance of building a prototype for new product ideas. And the way Cybrant does it is through the hackathon model. So get a hackathon prototype for new product ideas is the title of project. So the agenda for the day that we have is we're going to look at the business and product ecosystems, the challenges faced while building applications for digital product streams, the importance of prototypes, the challenges involved in building one, and the nitty-gritties involved. Why use a hackathon approach, and how does Cybrant execute it? We're going to look at a few examples of prototype applied projects which have delivered great results, and eventually we're going to again readdress the issue of why need a prototype for your business idea. In the end of the webinar, the floor will be open for question and answers. Till then, I'll be placing you all on mute. You can feel free to drop in questions at the chat box, which you would find on the left side of the screen. Yeah. Just give me a moment before I move. Oh, wonderful. So coming back to the overview of the business and product ecosystems. Well, we are living in an environment where the customer's goal basically drives all the products, which in turn leads to businesses. The moment one realizes the importance of a customer in the business ecosystem and develops product experience which matches his personal ambitions and goals, that's where I think we are going to build a mark. The product experience directly relates to the marketing and then flourishes the business. The better the experience, the better the success of the product. So looking at the what is the need for building a prototype for developing such a product which would give an adaptive user experience to the customer as well as enhance the success of the business. So a prototype is basically an interactive sample of how the product will look, how will it behave, and one of the most important aspects after building the prototype is to understand how people are going to view it. So the feedback from the users and the stakeholders, whether they give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the prototype, gives us a very good understanding of the product roadmap. Where is that product going to head? So to explain more on the challenges faced in the digital product streams, I'd like to let Hari take control of the flow and then see what are the challenges that we face.
Thanks, Bharat. Uh, this here, Hari again, and so looking at the product, digital products right now, right? There are a lot of streams. So before going into the streams, how is the current product system works like? Let's say it has a website, we have web apps development, we have mobile apps development, and mobile version of the websites, and more integrated when it comes to cloud, and of course desktop and apps are there as well. So how I mean, looking at these areas of development, how a user engages with this environment or the platforms is the key thing, right? One which we can everybody most often in the internet products, desktops and laptops are the most productive environments where people access your products, and the other aspects is the tablets, more on the couch surfing is what they call it right now, and or post PC era. So So that's another environment, and the most engaging right now is a smartphone environment. Wherever you go, your products has to be in touch, and you have to still engage with that, and most of the things has to be accomplished. So that's another one. And the other upcoming stream which people are interested in right now is wearable technologies like smart gears or Google Glass. I mean, people really want to get connected in all of these areas, and this multi-channel environment is something which every product is heading towards. So let's look at how complicated or how to approach, or how do we approach this, right? So though it is complicated, there is a way to approach for this. So we just have a little bit of classification on this. One, when it comes to desktops to laptops, you have medium and large screens. I mean, when it comes to design, it is all about what is the limitation that you have and how much can you see and how much can you access, right? So it is always important that the screens and the screen sizes. And the other set, you have the tablets and smartphones. So we have these two classification when it comes to building a website or a web app, which you can build it for all of these screens with one. With some design principle that you can go with, and the other set is the apps in specific to tablets and uh, smartphones. If you look at the current scenario, uh, the requirements which is on desktop building applications, or desktop based building or a development has been quite reduced. I mean, people wanted to go more on web, mobile web, and apps for post PC or devices. So that's the trend which is going on. So what is the let's look at the design principle to uh, how do we adapt. As I said, there is an approach for this, right? So one, when it comes to website or a web app, there is already an approach called responsive design frameworks and things, right?
Correct.
But there is also another factor that which most people miss, which is the design principle. Though the technology is responsive frameworks or anything, uh, we need to bring in the adaptive experience. When a person goes out from his productive environment to couch, and couch to on the go, or even a transit mode, so how do we optimize the same thing towards all of these devices based on the environments and where the users access from, right? So which comes to a point, and which forms a major design principle, which is the adaptive experience. So that's the way we have to think about it. And let's go to the other set, which is the wearable technology. As I said, one, the currently Google Glass, and the smart gears, which Samsung is just populating.
Correct.
So which is quite interesting, and we have been trying to design applications for this. I mean, one of our augmented reality apps, which needs interconnected facility with the Google Glass and the cloud system. So which gave us a lot of different aspects to it, and so the design principle that we follow in right now is lively experience. You're here, and what you want is the major thing, and the others which is not active, or you call it passive, becomes automated.
Okay.
So the most important things becomes the interactive areas, and the most uh, passive things becomes automated. It doesn't mean you leave it off.
Okay.
It becomes automated. So that's the design principle which is going on these technologies. So looking at this, right? So how do you build a right experience design, right? What is the bridge between the user and the products, right? It is always you have to make sure the design principles and the way of building products has to bring the right product experience, so that your products become successful in any of these channels. I mean, I mean, you as a user, if you want to access, let's take a very common example. All of our internet connected people want to access mails.
Correct.
Right. I mean, Facebook is something different, but most of the common thing which most of the world uses mails.
Emails.
Right. If you don't bring in the right experience on all of these channels, be it a desktop or be it a mobile device or a mobile web, anywhere, right? I mean, you have to get the right experience in place. If you don't get that channelized, it becomes a factor that the product might fail in some areas of some channels, right? So that's being done, and so how does this is being connected? I mean, you can ask me why did you take Gmail as an example, right?
Correct.
But
My question is rather a little more different. It's about what you've brought in, say, email concept. I'm looking at it, looking at the various streams where I access my emails from, let it be a tablet or a laptop or a smartphone, or nowadays with the wearable technology. Is it very crucial to get the right blend of hardware with the software and the user experience point of view? How would you link all three together?
sure. So, as I said, right, the adaptive experience principle and the lively experience
Correct.
principle. Of course, being in a web development and mobile development companies, we don't have much hold over the way the hardware industry is. But what we can understand is the current trends, what most people use. Of course, it is quite changing. We agree with that, but how do
You
we
see phone
standardize?
becoming lighter
Yes,
nowadays.
yes. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, the weight
The
of the
screens
phone
becoming
is-
bigger.
Right, but the challenge is if you look at from desktops to devices, uh, the platforms change, uh, the features improvise,
Correct.
but as far as the experience is concerned, it is quite stabilized. I mean, people want something on the go things on smartphones. I mean, it has
Correct.
not been changed from Nokia's to Samsung's right now.
Correct.
Right. So that experience expectation, the expectation on the experience of those devices has not been changed.
Correct.
So that way, we are quite standard when it comes to building or designing a product for those devices, right? So that's one thing. So let's move on to the other areas. So let's look at the prototype,
Prototypes.
right? So so we have a low fidelity prototype. We call a high fidelity prototype. So what exactly is a prototype? So as you mentioned, it is an interactive sample of how it looks like, how it behaves, and things, right?
Correct.
But what a low fidelity, what a high fidelity mean? Let's say we have a lot of techniques where we do paper prototyping or we do
The hand sketches, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
So take your. I know that you're interested in cars, but so when you look at concept cars, you always want to try it out.
Definitely, I would love to kind of,
Yeah. So you want to look at it. You want to see
Feel
how
it.
the doors open. You want to see the look into the interiors and things like that. So even before that, there is a thing where the concept design stage, you will have everything black and white on a paper and.
At the researcher's desk.
The product owners has to decide on something.
Correct.
Even before it rolls out to the market or to the users like you.
Correct.
Right. Though it is a concept car, you still have to see it after a couple of phases. Right. So the first phase we call it the low fidelity prototype, where the
Okay.
product owners decides to see what will be the product and how it look like. So it is a more of a black and white version of the product, completely a sketch. I mean, it's just an improvised version from the paper prototypes to the electronic lines and shapes. So, and also a click-through version where you can actually, it just involves a little bit of HTMLs or tools like Axure and things. So we just enable clicks of how the journey would look like for a user and how it will behave when it comes to different critical areas of the screen and things like that.
So this is more of a blueprint of the entire
Yes,
structure.
a working blueprint, something you can call it, a
Okay.
half working blueprint. So the major screens we will be prototyping in. And the other set is the high fidelity prototype. Let's say this is when your concept cars are put in expose, right?
They're in the production line.
Yeah, expose.
Oh, they've exposed.
Expose. I mean auto expose.
Wonderful.
So this is where you even take one step ahead, build the design, and I mean you design the visual part of it, how the graphics will look like, what is the concept of the user interface, and you take it to the stakeholders. Stakeholders will include even the business owners or the users,
general public
users, right?
Yeah.
So this is one thing to do. So you can ask me how we do it, right?
Yes. We've
So-
always been very curious because
Yeah.
a lot of people outside the organization might not even relate to hackathon. Yeah, marathon, everybody is very familiar. If you could shed more light on what do you mean by hackathon for building a prototype and how do you do it? What is the need for it initially and then how do you go about it?
Right. So, since we are in a product development areas, a lot of new when new product ideas generate,
Correct.
right, from startups to even enterprise areas, we have faced that we want a little bit of idea to be visualized, right?
Right.
And so it helps in a way that it is not signing up for the entire project development, but how do you take an idea to a working model? I mean, usually when people say prototypes, it was long back that I have a form to submit and I see everything database and completely connected and working. But that is not the prototype that we are talking about. This is the prototype that it is mocked, completely mocked.
Okay.
Right, how user sees it, how he perceives every behavior of the user interface, right, and how he what is, I mean we can even track the expectation of the user, and so it is more of a intermediate step, or even I could say it is a very initial step for a new idea becoming a visual product.
Correct.
Right. So for that, of course, when it comes to user experience process, we always involve prototypes. Everybody does. But what this hackathon means, right?
Correct.
Right. So usually, as I said, it involves a long process. If it's a complex product, it involves long process. Let's take an example of a website or even a web application which involves a product, which has different set of users. So it is just an idea on the paper or on a document which says this is the required features, and how do you visualize it, right? For that, it will take a month or 2 months down the 2 months time,
Depending upon the complexity of the
right? So how do we approach a little quicker model, right? Because it is a faster world and everybody wants something outright the box, right? So this event actually involves most of the stakeholders or like product owners to designers in one place, and which actually helps us to crack an idea to a product.
Okay.
So that's one of the process which when we do prototypes. This is just one of the process that we exactly apply for most of the critical clients, which really helped us a lot.
Okay.
So let me just give you how we do it, right?
Okay.
We did. I'm just gonna show the last week's thing,
Okay.
and yeah, this is the studio, and we initially give stakeholders a brief about the product. Let's say when I say stakeholders, it involves everybody, like interaction designers to researchers to even the salesperson and the product owner, if it is the case, or if mostly the product owner will not be involved, but if it is required, it will be brilliant. Yes.
Okay.
So and the technology analyst. I mean, what kind of technology there? Because designing something is always restricted when it comes to technology. I mean, you can create anything on a paper or on a 3D modeling, right?
Correct.
But when you want to look at it, just now those 3D printing machines have come,
yeah.
right? So it was long back and envisioned, and it has just come. So we always need a technology analyst to make sure what we can get tomorrow, not next year.
Yeah.
right? So that's the way we look at, and of course there will be a vision towards what would be the best technology for next 3 years when it comes to the product. Uh, on the same side, the design patterns. So we need designers as well. So it involves most of the usability analysts and all stakeholders in place to make sure we get the design right.
Great.
Right. So, and also we will announce the date of when are we going to do it. So it helps all of these stakeholders to do their own research. So it is not a day that they come here and generate ideas. It is a day where they collaborate their ideas out of their a week ahead research.
Okay.
So
If you could highlight more on the kind of research that one needs to go through, because I understand the importance of research is very crucial while executing any prototype or, for that matter, any product development as such. So, how would you highlight the importance of research for every individual that you just mentioned? The technology architect, yes, he has a clear understanding of the technology patterns which are evolving. So he'll have inputs from his point of view. What about the other stakeholders? How do they perform their research?
Sure. So let's take an example, right? Let's take a mock example of an e-commerce product. So let's say a researcher, user researcher, will obviously have to do how these e-commerce sites and how the users behave at the e-commerce sites.
Yeah.
So his part of the research will be on how people perceive and behave with those systems.
Okay.
Right. And when it comes to usability analysts, exactly the same, how the current trends are and what kind of patterns do they have and how do they behave with the system and what is the error sides, right? So all of those supply chain areas, I mean, including everything and how you, till the order is being delivered, what is the response mechanism that people will expect, right? So all of those aspects. And the designer, he will obviously look at the what is the design trends when it comes to graphic, user interface of all of this e-commerce websites, right? Where let's say the mass scale e-commerce systems to the current trendy e-commerce systems or even a fashion. So where does the product belongs? Whether it belongs to an Amazon size or a a small next door
Pizza.
yeah, anything, right? So so what kind of areas do they belong from the sales point of view? A salesperson would do what is the exact sales mechanism which goes in place, including the marketing aspects of the e-commerce site, right? What kind of things has to be integrated into the system? And when it comes to the technology area, what framework should we use? Are we doing it from scratch or are we doing it from a framework and building upon it? Or what kind of logistics systems which is getting integrated? So all of this, along with a UI developer, let's say UI developer will talk about shall we use HTML5 or any other HTML5 frameworks, or let's do it from scratch completely, right? So what kind of limitations that everybody brings in, and what is the product out? So that will be their research areas.
Okay.
Yeah. So going forward, the hackathon, let's say all those research is done and the hackathon starts, and again the agenda has to be set. So as I said, we will involve most of the stakeholders on one day, and we will just discuss according to that product. So that what happens is when every stakeholder is in on the same lines, they concentrate about that particular product and nothing else.
Everybody posts in their ideas on the
Yes.
table.
Right.
Okay.
And as I said, they will bring in all of their individual research ideas, and we have the collaboration board, and they just showcase or they present all of their ideas. I mean, it is not every so, and also it helps to evangelize the product.
Correct.
Right. So apart from uh, what product owner has given, what could be the next steps of it? What are the other sides that we can think out of the box on executing things, and what could be the innovations in place, right? So all of these will happen next to it, and of course, the day has to start with what's the right agenda, and we have the visual prototype as the final agenda. Usually, it could be a low fidelity or a high fidelity prototype. It depends on how complex the product is. So usually it will end up, if it is a complex product, it will be a low fidelity prototype, which is the final output of that particular day.
Correct.
And the major screens, I cannot say that it is the entire joy of the project. It would be for a user, what is the main aspect of the product. Let's say you will be defining goals and you will be taking care of that.
Okay.
So that particular area will be mapped out, and we need a visual output out of it. So that's one thing.
So is this a time-bound process, the entire hackathon that you have? Do you have set goals,
Yes,
deadlines?
I mean, hackathon is a way to motivate or define the goals, right?
Okay.
It is not exactly you start running and you finish on the end line, right? It is only that concept is
How
there.
you pace yourself
Yes.
to reach that goal.
Right.
You cannot sprint all the way.
Yes.
So you need to take that break and then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it is very well focused way of working, and everybody will be focused towards getting the best output out of this. It's not like you give it to a design studio and it takes its own time to come out to the best outputs, and it's not a very linear way, right? Interaction
Yes.
designer gives things to
Different people, different personalities, and
Yes.
different thoughts.
Yes.
But it's all about how the
It is
team.
not like one document goes from one
Yeah.
desk to the other.
Correct.
Right, it's a collaborative work, and everybody works on the same page. That's the most important thing on this particular event side.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And as said, we do a lot of hand sketches. We taste it out. We evaluate with. We bring in a couple of people on people who can buy stuff and things like that, and we test it out. And then for this particular event, we had a room for a colorful visual prototype as well.
Okay.
So it is just to say it is India's #1 Italian food chain that we have been working for, and so the visual designs stage where you bring in the most important screens, how exactly the feel will look like. I mean, how user will perceive the next new product or the revamped product, right? So that's one particular thing. And then the day ends. Of course, the product output is to make sure you bring in the visual prototype, right? So it moves to the desk of high fidelity prototypes where, let's say, let's take even if a mobile app, how the screen will behave, if, let's say how it will animate, what kind of gestures that you can provide, things like that can actually be in place.
Wonderful.
That's the thing.
Okay.
So this actually helps to come up with the end product in a very short time, and also helps, let's say, most of the startup environments, right, or even the enterprise areas, they want a quick walkthrough of their ideas. So
Okay.
this particular event, which actually helps even us as a services company and the owners of the product to understand what's their product's importance to the
So
users.
you basically,
Yes.
would it be right if I say you freeze on the core?
Yes.
Core elements are finalized, and
Yes.
it's just the outer crust which develops over a period of time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, you can take it as an evaluation tool to all of your stakeholders. I mean, you can even take it to
Venture
your
capitalists?
users. Yeah, that's one.
Can I
one
take it to
of-
my venture?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
one area, and even to the funding team. If you are into a large organization, you still want to take it to your superiors, and I mean that's a different story. But the ultimate aim is to make sure your idea turns up into a visual product that anybody can understand.
Correct. Wonderful.
Yeah. So these as I was telling, we applied it for one of the conglomerate in India, which is HCL. It lot worked out on a corporate segment as well. It's a website revamp, and we have to align completely to their upcoming brand strategy for next 1-2 years.
Okay.
And so we have done a prototype of this, and you can look at it. I mean, HCL.com, it is completely responsive, and we brought in the adaptive design principle for that as well. And another e-commerce segment. So most products, this actually worked out well for a corporate side, a consumer e-commerce side, and in industrial, augmented reality areas, and even for a statistical gaming side, right? So we can apply this to most of the consumer and enterprise product segment. It is not only for can I do this for that, or it is not for.
It's not like it's just for starting.
Right. So it is a more of a hackathon way. It is just a process which can be applied to websites or a web apps or a mobile apps or a mobile websites for both consumer and enterprise segments. It could be of any scale. We can still apply this event process to make sure we get the offer. Yeah. And this is again a tourism portal, just to make sure we have enough varieties of works that we have done. And it was really successful, and clients really loved working with us because of this. Instead of clients loving us, it really made very well connected to the product, right? So that's quite important.
Yes.
So again, to summarize, I'll quickly show you how these work, in fact. So this one of the prototype that we did yesterday. It is for a lot of music companies releases their music albums into multiple stores, like app stores, play stores, and things. And they wanted to understand how can an app can show how many has been sold where, and what kind of analytics that they can bring in. So this one app where we did a prototype yesterday, how it worked, and it's a click-through prototype again.
Okay.
On most of the things, like even from settings to dashboard to everything that we could do. And this one is a consumer app, cyclist app.
Okay.
Again, this is a high-fidelity prototype. The way it works, what kind of animation does it come, and when they touch or swipe through, what kind of screens will it work, and what kind of inner behaviors that. I mean, we'll go into. Since it is a consumer app, if you look at this app, it is quite interesting. This app has to get sticked on to a cycle, and the cycle rider will be on a daylight. So the color concepts to the way things work, right? It has to match with one hand gestures and things like that. So we have put in a lot of thoughts into this particular app to make sure we get the right things to the users. And so this being the consumer side, let's look at the enterprise side. So this one particular client where more of analytics plays in place. You can say there are a lot of data which is inside. So this particular enterprise application deals only with the business intelligence information.
Okay.
And this is the high fidelity prototype that we have done. So this actually helped a new product development, right? Even if it's a business intelligence areas, you could understand how it behaves when it comes to the users and all of the stakeholders. And the most interesting part of this particular prototype, it's a very complex area where their entire business process is getting onto a system.
Yes.
So it becomes a work desk for the client side as well as the services side. So that's quite interesting and really helped us a lot even in developing the product.
Okay.
So that's one thing. So to summarize, why do we need a prototype again, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of help does it do? So even before it rolled out to next steps, let's say, since it is in a design stage, there is a lot of improvement that you can do, right? Even uh, your strategies can get realigned after you get your feedbacks. So that's one area where it allows room for a product owner to do some changes during the product or even before the product is being built.
Okay.
Right. And when it comes to developing a product, it has always been a challenge, right? You describe an apple to a developer, and when he brings out an orange out of it, right? So it is a challenge for us. So how do we make sure that we only deliver apples from day 1 to day 10, right? So this visual prototypes will actually put most of the errors aside,
Okay.
making sure how the product end goal will be, right? So that's a major point, which actually helps us here as well. As I said, it helps business people to decide on their roadmaps. That's pretty important. What kind of features goes next? What kind of features goes on the rollout day, right? So all of those aspects. And yes, I said it helps when you pitch in for funding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one important thing. So how do we do it? So since uh, Cybrant is quite equipped with the development team as well, right? So we need to form we ended up forming a strategy for developing all of this. As I said, there is a current product trend is to make sure that you cannot just design a website, you cannot just design a web app. Everybody wants the product to be everywhere, be it on a mobile device. I mean, I want a mobile app, I want a website as well, I want a web application as well. So how do you design it, how do you take it to the market is the question, right? And how do you align your development or the design teams according to it, right? Sometimes most of the product teams sometimes right, they will own their dev teams as well, but they will not own a design team instead, right? So how do you align a new design team in place, right? So this framework allows us to be any type of service alignment, and it actually helps us a lot when it comes to integrating or bringing up a new product from ground to uh, the top floor.
Okay.
So that's pretty much about this framework, and it is quite integrated streams. One goes to the web areas, one goes to the mobile areas, and on the very interesting aspect, when it comes to consumer side, you want to do online marketing. So where do you
The
start?
social media stream,
Yes,
I see that. Yeah.
right. Where do you want to start the online marketing? So when you roll out, let's take a website, it needs some search engine optimizations
It does.
during the development and after the site is live. So how do you align your stakeholders according to it? I mean, you
Correct.
cannot go and learn at that time to have that person in place. So the entire project plan will be strategized according to this framework, and this is what we follow here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this your proprietary work?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So we are end of the discussion, and we are open for questions.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you can feel free to type in your questions. I'm going to unmute you in a minute's time, and we'll take it forward from there.
So yeah, we have opened the chat box, and you can type your questions in there.
Hello, Mr. Vijay? Hello? Vijay G, you have a question? I think we seem to be facing an audio connection issue there. So, Hari, I was going to ask you, this is from my personal note. When there's an existing successful business enterprise or identity, why would you recommend or why do you think they should go ahead and go for, let's say, a website revamp? There is already a product available and they're not an e-commerce website.
So it's a quite tricky question, and most people ask themselves when they develop new products. Right? It's like, I mean, you can even ask Apple or Ford company, why do you develop new cars since your last car is successful? So you have to keep up with the technology advancements and also
Right.
the necessities. Right? So your online identity is something key, which is regarding to the current market. You have to keep it updated or refreshed so that your customers still feel that you're engaging them. It's more of a connection that you create.
Wonderful.
And it seems like Vijay typing.
Mr. Vijay,
Hello.
hello?
Hey.